We are not alone. You are watching Contact TV with your hosts, Leslie Mitchell-Clark
and Wes Roberts,
exploring ufology, metaphysics, and beyond with the world's foremost experts. Good evening, good morning, hello, global citizens. You're welcome to another episode of Contact TV. This is the final episode of our season 12, and we're going out with the big bang, a bang at any rate. We are welcoming to our program certainly one of the most noted archaeological investigators, the man who has almost single-handedly discovered and explored the phenomenal historical relics in South Africa. And he is also the creator, really, or maybe the rediscoverer, we'll talk about that later, of the UBUNTU theory, which is now called One Small Village, or it's part of the same thing. We're going to talk about all that. So we are welcoming to the program, direct from South Africa, Mr. Michael Tellinger. Michael, thank you for being with us.
welcome.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Thank you, Wes. Great to be with you.
Let me just start off by asking you now, I have wondered if in the South Africa region, or the Abzu, as the Anunnaki called it, if there is evidence of the nuclear conflagration that many people believe ended the Anunnaki's stay, or obvious stay, as it were, on Earth. Is there vitrified sand? Is there any evidence that that type of activity occurred in the Abzu?
A very good question. There certainly are parts of South Africa that the desert-like areas, like the Karoo, central part of the country, Hari and the Karoo, that are nestled together. And then obviously Southern Africa is also Namibia, and Namibia has got the whole Namib Desert, which is one of the largest, driest deserts in the world. And sometimes said to be the oldest desert. Who knows at this stage, when they start using those kind of definitions. But it's difficult to say. It's not as obvious as it is in other parts of the world.
I see. And what was it that first was the major wig bubble that first allowed you to begin to see the formations and the things around you as actual historical relics rather than just randomized formations?
Well, it was really just the I guess accidental discovery of the stone circles of Southern Africa, and thing of Johann Heine, who had discovered them 15 years prior to me, and was photographing them from the air, and was probably one of the few people alive to have accumulated a large number, hundreds of aerial photographs of the stone circle ruins. So he became the unquestionable expert and authority on the stone circles because of his collection of photographs. So he was the one that introduced me to it, and that just obviously sent all the alarm bells ringing, and realized that just what I'd released 2 years before, Slave Species of God, my first book, that the stone circles were directly connected to what I was writing about in the book, and that's the Anunnaki and the gold mining empire and Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, and so forth. And that just, it was like an immediate connection that I made. And that then led to the many other discoveries that came over the next 15 years.
And I believe that in reading about some of the more recent conclusions that you have come to, there's a big sonic element or vibrational element. Is there not in these in the stone circles?
That's the number one point of interest, undeniably. It's the fact that the stone circles ring like bells. They all put out frequencies, vibration, electromagnetic fields, and we've measured that many times. They all differ. Each one is completely and utterly unique. They all seem to be driven by the natural frequencies of Mother Earth. And I have a feeling that it's the the sort of overriding frequency that gives us their shape is most likely the Schumann resonance. And I say that because of the size of the average size of the stone circles is consistent with the frequency, the 7.8 hertz of the Schumann resonance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really fascinating. So it seems to be that frequency and its fractals and harmonics that gives rise to the shapes of the stone circles.
Wow. So do you think that the circles themselves were generating energy, or is that how the gold was extracted in some way that we can't completely understand at this time?
No doubt the stone circles are generating frequencies still today, although they're completely broken down and they've been reused and abused and, reconstructed and stuff attached to them. And there are some that are still very original with no doors and entrances. We've got thousands of those that we've identified. But even the ones that have been adapted and manipulated, they still give out frequencies, in the gigahertz. And so it's crazy. It's absolutely great. It's technology that you really have to understand the laws of nature and cymatics to be able to do that and achieve that, because we don't know how to do that today. However, let me say that the moment you build a circle out of stone, and the stone has got enough iron and quartz in it so that it has acoustic properties, you will automatically create an energetic and a vibrating, resonating device.
Mm-hmm.
It's just automatic. It happens automatically.
Well, I think we see that, and we see that there is measurable energy still being generated from the Great Pyramids, which I believe were simply power stations. Really, they're not meant for burial, and there's still power, something coming out of the top. And also Dr. Osmanagic's Bosnian pyramid, there is measurable activity there, not only coming out of that pyramid, but in the massive underground structure, which seems to be made of polymers somehow. And
well, the main thing at the Bosnian pyramid, and Sam Osmanagic is a dear friend of mine. I've been there many times. Mm-hmm. What he has discovered there is fascinating. It's a really remarkable discovery, also mainly because of the network of underground tunnels that all seem to converge on towards the pyramid. It seems to me like it was the pyramid, and it had underneath all these hundreds, maybe even thousands of tunnels that moved away from it. It's almost like looking at a human lung with mm-hmm. The body of the lung, and then the thousands of bronchi and bronchioli and alveoli that make up our lungs. It's a network of tiny little tubes that become smaller tubules and so forth. And it seems to all these like veins and arteries that come together and eventually end up with in the underneath the pyramid.
Wow.
And so and because there's always air moving through those tunnels that he's excavated, and he has excavated, my goodness, kilometers of those tunnels now. Mm. So there are anomalies and mysteries there that boggle the mind, because somebody filled the tunnels in. Somebody went to a great, insane, unimaginable amount of trouble to fill those tunnels in. Like, wow. Conceive that. And that's why it's so easy to dig those tunnels out, because they're just digging out sand and stone. And the moment they dig it out, there's this air that moves through those tunnels. There's certain frequencies that are in those tunnels that are incredibly healing. It's very rich environment in negative ions. Mm-hmm. So it's a healing environment because of that. And then the frequencies that are in there. Sam has got years and years of testimonies of people with all kinds of diseases that have been either cured or improved their condition to a level that they could function and live and survive, from virtually blindness or almost mm-hmm. being blind to being able to see reasonably well, to people with diabetes and cancer and backache and all kinds of high blood pressure and anything you can imagine. The tunnels in the Bosnian that lead up to the Bosnian pyramids, what he calls the Ravne tunnels, are healing chambers because of the frequencies that move through there. And so in many ways, that pyramid works. It's the frequencies that are created by the air that moves through those tunnels that seems to have the energy in the pyramid. So it works exactly the same way that our lungs work, because it's the air that we breathe. When we breathe the air in, the sound of the air that the air goes through as it goes into our lungs, into all the alveoli, the bronchi and bronchioli, and eventually ends up in the alveoli, and the air then, and the energy of the air that we breathe gets transferred, and the oxygen gets transferred into our blood. It's the sound and the vibration of the air that gets transferred, the oxygen vibrating, that it gets transferred onto the blood cells. And that's what energizes our blood cells. And then once the blood cells have been, the energy has been stripped of the blood cells, then we breathe the air out. So that pyramid works exactly the same way that our lungs work to keep our in our bodies. It's spectacular.
Fascinating. Wes, did you have a question or two for Michael?
Yeah, a couple of things. And I know Michael wants to move on to the one small town, which certainly, absolutely, I've been reading all about it. This is like a micro and macrocosmic thing to me, and we're the microcosm of it. And I think it kind of underpins one of your, and I don't know if it's an underpinning philosophy, that nothing is as it seems.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's crazy. Everything we look at in our education system that's been forced upon us is unquestionably structured to dumb us down and us away from what's really going on, keep us away from the truth. Everything that NASA shares with us. So it seems that all these agencies that have been set up were set up to research and discover for those that set those agencies up. But the information that they pass down to the people is all disinformation and lies to take our attention away from the discoveries that they make. So we'll never really know what NASA is finding out there, with Operation Fishbowl and all the things that they've done with all the so-called moon landings and Mars. So, who knows what's going on there, but they're certainly not telling us what's going on. And the same with science and physics and chemistry and quantum mechanics, especially. It's just a circus of disinformation and lie after lie after lie. And yet there is a golden thread of truth that holds it all together. Somehow it remains in there. And that's what I find so fascinating, that if you look, and that's what I found, other people have found it too, is the golden thread of truth that goes through everything. Otherwise, the whole thing would just fall apart.
Yeah. There has to be enough truth to kind of hold the reality together, sort of. But we are a world, a civilization of global amnesia. There wasn't just one catastrophe. There were several setbacks of the human race, reboots. We don't remember any of that. Sometimes we can get to it through past life regression, or sometimes people have spontaneous memories when they are in these remarkable places. And I wonder, within the context of the stone circles, is there any healing capability that has been researched?
Oh, absolutely. So just like Samus Managage has got a string of testimonies of people experiencing healing, so have I, since the early days of 2008, and all the way through until recently. We've had and I've had experiences with people that have had healing, their own personal healing experiences in the stone circles at Adam's Calendar. And then also at the what we call the fertility stone circle, the fertility site, the Dravidian site, which is spectacular. So I can tell you, just the stone circles, because they generate vibrational frequencies and sound frequencies and into the gigahertz and electromagnetic fields, they automatically vibrate those frequencies. So whether you like it or not, the moment you get close to the stone circle and inside it, when you're walking around inside it, whether you like it or not, you are being bombarded by those frequencies. Your cells vibrate with those frequencies. Now, because those frequencies are fractals and harmonic resonant fractals of Schumann resonance, which I believe, these are good frequencies. They're good for your body. So your body has been bombarded by good healing frequencies. So when we don't know yet, well, we have some shamanic information, but we don't have scientific measured information as to exactly what frequencies each stone circle emits. We to do that, but that's a very costly and a very long and costly exercise. We'll get to it sooner or later when we find the money and the funding to go back and. But what we do know is that the stone circles do heal people because of that fact that I told you. So if the cells vibrate with the good frequencies, it destroys all the pathogens and the toxins in our, purifies the cells and gets rid of all the other bad elements and the free radicals and so forth.
Yeah.
And the fascinating one for me was the what we started calling the fertility circle, which was identified by one Cyril Hromnik here in South Africa, who's a scholar that writes about the Dravidians who were here already, 3,000 years ago mining gold, way before any of the African tribes arrived here. There were Dravidians mining gold, and that causes a huge problem historically, which our government certainly doesn't want to talk about, like the American government doesn't want to talk about the fact that there were Black people living in America for thousands of years. So these are subjects that never come up in our education. And here in Southern Africa, we know there were Bushmen. The Bushmen can be traced back with absolute certainty 250,000 years back. So we know the Bushmen are around here, but we also know that some 3,000 years ago, there were already Dravidians from Southern India here. Very advanced, one of the most advanced cultures of our ancient, more recent ancient civilizations. They were here mining gold and taking it back east. So this is, so Cyril Hromnik identified one of those stone circles, which is then reconfigured into a shape that the Dravidians use for fertility ceremonies. So they obviously knew, because they were very smart and advanced civilization, they understood that the stone circles were powerful healing and energetic devices, and they reconfigured that particular stone circle because of the frequencies that they detected in there. How they detected it, I don't know, but they must have, because they used that specific one to turn that into their fertility site. And so we started, I think the first time we actually did this experiment was in around, my goodness, I think it was just before lockdown or just during lockdown or so. We had a group of spiritual people and probably about 8 or 10 people came down from Pretoria for a weekend. And I said to them, well, there was a couple there that had been trying to fall pregnant for years. And they paid hundreds of thousands of rands to fertility clinics and no luck. So I said, well, why don't we give this a try? Let's go down there and we'll do a ceremony. Because just prior to that, we did a shamanic journey and we channeled what ceremony to do. How do you do the ceremony? How do you walk? What do you do? So that was all channeled to us. So we did that. It's very simple. You walk in and there's a very clear way that you walk in and you follow a path which spirals in, actually goes around 7 times, and you end up right in the center of that circle. And you sit there for a little while, you meditate, and then you get out of there walking the same way out. And so we did that, went and did that ceremony with this couple. And they left back home to Pretoria after the weekend. And a week later, I got a phone call from the organizer, whose name was Angie. And she said, you won't believe this, our couple is pregnant.
Oh,
so
well,
that you can't make this up,
No, vibration is really everything. And I will say, just as a footnote, I work as a hypnotherapist. I work an awful lot in fertility issues for couples who have usually undiagnosed issues. And I started using, I read that the way babies are conceived is a little bit different than we used to think. We used to think that a whole bunch of sperm just ran at the egg and the fastest swimmer was the one that contributed the DNA. Well, in effect, the egg actually calls an individual sperm through vibration.
Yes.
So even the very beginning of life is about vibration.
Exactly. Everything is about vibration, resonance, sound, and frequency. So, even nerve endings, when we think, and from the synaptic nerves and all that, the transformation of information goes through vibration and sound and electromagnetic transition of information. So everything is, that's it. It's the source of everything. It's a source of creation. So that's why we can do everything with it. We can levitate with it. We can cure. We can heal. We can create weapons of mass destruction. We can do weapons of protection. We can do anything with it.
Indeed.
Waveform data, right, Michael? Everything's waveform data that's manifest here in one way or another. The little quantum piece, which is fascinating to no end.
And now, I just reread recently one of my favorite books, Slave Species of the Gods. And certainly there's tons of evidence of our Anunnaki origins, how we came to be, the genetic splicing for the labor force. And that idea of us as slaves to the economy is something that we retain. And I believe that most of the world is kept in poverty and ignorance for various reasons. So this is probably a good time. Wes, would you like to segue into the One Small Village, UBUNTU? One Small Town, excuse me.
The One Small Town is, and I know very little about it, and that's why Michael's here, and I can't wait to hear it, but it's mutually beneficial community is the best way I can think of it. A mutually beneficial community that is contributed to and benefits everyone in it. And that also allows for outside investors, also allows to export or to keep what you create in the community internal. And I want to stop at that because I'm ignorant of the rest, but Michael, One Small Town.
Yeah, thank you. Look, it's important also for your viewers to explain how do we go from ancient civilizations, Anunnaki, gold mining, crazy stuff. How do we suddenly end up in a thing called One Small Town, and how do we get to One Small Town? What's the progression from there to there? And it's very important to demonstrate how everything is connected. Just like everything in life, everything in the universe is connected, and we're connected to nature around us through the energetic fields and the vibration that holds our body together, and everything around us is held together. So the same way how I got from studying ancient civilizations to realizing that money is not there to help humanity, that money did not evolve from thousands of years of bartering and trading, that money was actually suddenly introduced and appeared out of the blue. Overnight, money appeared as a complete and whole evolved tool to enslave people. And that is very clearly explained to us in the Sumerian texts. And I write about it in Slave Species of God, and about it especially in my follow-up books about the stone circles in South Africa. So once I realized that the first money on earth was created by these first priest kings. So we read in the Sumerian texts that there was a time, and these are in the kings lists. This is about that kings list, Sumerian kings list that kings came from, and so forth. And so in one of the kings lists specifically, in fact, more than one of the king lists, it tells us how these first priest kings suddenly appeared on earth, and that the kingdom was lowered to earth from heaven, and that the first priest kings were appointed by the gods. Okay, well, here we go. So the Anunnaki create some sort of a hybrid between themselves and humans, or some other hybrid that we're not quite sure of. And they appoint those beings who obviously had very long lives and lived thousands and dozens of thousands of years. They were probably immortal. And they appoint those as their first kings. They're like their slave masters that they put on earth and all over the world to rule over those and control those areas on behalf and for the Anunnaki. And then the Sumerian texts describe how long each one of those kings ruled and where they went to from there and so forth, and who replaced them. So this is not just some willy-nilly. It's a very detailed record of what these kings' names were, where they ruled, and so forth, and how long they ruled. And then it says very, very clearly there that they built their temples that were big, impenetrable buildings that people weren't allowed in. And from there, they ruled with an iron fist. And in those temples, they made the laws that ruled those countries. They had fierce weapons with which they could smite the people if the people didn't obey them. And that's very important. And that's a very important answer to, well, why did the people listen and obey these beings that suddenly declared themselves as king? You know, they arrive out of nowhere and say, well, now I'm the king, priest king, and all this land belongs to me, and all of you are going to be working for me, and you do whatever I tell you. Well, the reason why people did that, and they even created armies to defend them, is because these guys had fierce weapons with which they smite thousands of people very, very quickly and effectively. So people feared them. It was fear that drove their obedience. We got to always remind ourselves of this. It wasn't that they loved these guys. It was fear. And so from these temples, they started to dispense the fear and the laws and smite people and punish them. And they also started to issue little tokens, clay tablet tokens, as the first forms of money, because they told the people to bring in their gold and bring in their silver to the temples. And in return for the gold, they gave them a little piece of clay tablet with some inscription on it to say, John Smith brought in 5 pieces of silver. And they got a piece of clay to say. So what they in essence did is they created the first banking system, promissory note, negotiable instruments, and created the same money system that we've inherited and use today. Nothing has changed. It's just become far more sophisticated through the Rothschild banking empire. Mm-hmm. So that's spectacular information. So it's not what we are told at school and in accounting school and so forth, how money evolved from the goldsmiths and all that nonsense. Yes, that did happen, but that's not the origin of money. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized that we've got to do something about it, that we can't carry on being stuck in the slavery system. We have to get out of it. So what will happen if you remove money from the system? What's going to happen? And I realized, great delight, that everything gets a lot easier. Things become much easier to manage and achieve greatness if you remove money, and if money doesn't control our lives. But how do we go? How do we get there? How do we get to a point where we get rid of money? That's very difficult. It's impossible. In our lives, that's impossible. So out of that kind of thinking came the evolution of what became the Ubuntu movement. And we went politics in South Africa, in the UK, and Canada, and Australia, and almost in the USA. Then the Ubuntu party was, people loved it because of our philosophy and what we stood for. But then after about 2010 to 2016, so was that? It's nearly 7 years in politics. I realized very quickly that it's going to get us absolutely nowhere. Wow. That I thought that we're going to introduce a seed of consciousness into the political beast, and we tried it for nearly 7 years and realized it doesn't work, because the political beast is completely and utterly corrupted and controlled by outside sources. So you can't fight it. Even if you fight it from within, it's not going to work, because they control the outcomes of the elections and they control everything. That's why the USA is in so much trouble right now. Oh. South Africa is in so much trouble. Once you've been inside the political arena and you understand how they manipulate the outcomes of elections, it's absolutely staggering.
It is.
So I then realized that we can't fight the system, even if we're trying to do it from within. So we pulled out and we launched the Ubuntu movement under the One Small Town umbrella. And that was pretty much it. And since 2016, it's just gone crazy. But what we've done is we've learned from our experiences and walked the talk. It's not just theoretical philosophy, being some philosopher somewhere and expecting everyone to listen to your crazy, stupid philosophies. So we've walked the talk. We've had the hard knocks. We've learned from our experiences. And that's what's created such a solid foundation of knowledge and provided such solid solutions, simple solutions in the One Small Town philosophy. And it's just now, it's gone crazy since in fact, lockdown was a thing that restarted this.
Mm.
So that's when people suddenly realized, oh my God, we have to do something to get out of this mess. And suddenly the one small town philosophy in 2020 just started to attract more and more attention. So, today it is a fully fledged, fully evolved plan of action, how to take small towns, turn them into places of prosperity and abundance by uniting the people, getting the people, instead of to compete against each other, to cooperate and collaborate so that everybody benefits from our collective efforts, and start as many businesses as we can that belong to all of us in the community. It's really that simple. So we don't try and get to the top on our individual. We realize that we need to grow food. So let's grow food for all of us. We know that we need technology. So let's create the technology for all of us. We know we need housing. Let's do it for all of us. And so it goes. So, so to do that, the very simple model for One Small Town is that we all become members of this co-op, or whatever you want to call it, the One Small Town initiative. And all we have to do is pledge to contribute 3 hours a week towards our own businesses and uplifting our community. And when you start doing the numbers, and you take a town of 10,000 people and everybody contributes 3 hours a week, suddenly you have 30,000 hours of free labor a week. Do something with. And now I realize, oh boy, we better start up some businesses. We better put ourselves to work. And suddenly, in a blink of an eye, you realize how powerful we are when we stand united and we work together. It is a spectacular thing that happens when that penny drops for people. So that's fundamentally the very basic philosophy of One Small Town. We all work together. We all contribute a minimum of 3 hours a week. Those that contribute more, and that just makes the success even bigger. So the challenge became, how do you manage all of this? How do you manage One Small Town in the USA, in South Africa, in Lebanon, in Australia, in Canada, in Brazil, in Germany, and Scandinavia? And how do you manage all these? And how do they all talk to each other and communicate? And that became the interesting, rapid, especially over the last 12 months. So we have now developed a highly sophisticated IT platform and a blockchain that's capable of managing all of this. We've also created our own community token, the One Small Town Infinity token, which is our own internal cryptocurrency, if you want to call it that, but it's not a cryptocurrency that's traded on any stock markets. It is our internal community token, which is the only asset-backed token on Earth right now. There's no other token that is the intrinsic value that's built into it, because the token is generated by our members that contribute 3 hours towards uplifting their community or their businesses. So the token has real inherent value in it. It's not just pie in the sky like any other crypto crap, right? So, and it's only available, it's generated by when our members come and they contribute their 3 hours a week. In return, they get a little Infinity token in their digital wallet. So all of this is connected through our network, our blockchain. So every One Small Town in the world, every member belongs to that small town in that community. They set up their businesses, they start their own community upliftment projects to fix their town, to fix the potholes, to make the parks beautiful, help the orphanages and the elderly, and do whatever needs to be done. And every time we contribute 3 hours towards one of those initiatives, we earn an Infinity token. So we also now created a digital wallet. So every member, as you become a member, you automatically have a digital wallet attached to your account, your membership account. And that wallet sits on your phone or on your laptop. And with your digital wallet, you can send your tokens to anyone else in the world free of charge, as long as they're a One Small Town member. So this thing is just going to go crazy.
Wow.
So we can start trading and exchanging goods outside of the prying eyes of any government or bank. When you've got Infinity tokens in your wallet, I can send you 10 tokens, or just trade in your own town. Somebody might not have enough corn flour because they've got doing a party or catering, and they say, listen, I need some more corn flour. How much do you want for your 100 kilos of corn flour? I say, okay, give me 5 tokens. You send them 5 tokens, boom, they give you the corn flour. Done. Very basic examples. Or you can sell your house to me. Say, give me 10,000 tokens and you transfer the house in my name. So the house is now in my name and I've given you tokens, and nobody is any wiser that we've exchanged anything. So we have, in essence, created an alternative exchange means of exchange for people of the world. So even if today the banking systems should collapse and everything closes down, we already have a solution in place for people to survive and continue sharing and exchanging and trading. We have it in place.
Incredible. And, I would imagine that people living in this way are creating their own quantum field of resonance, which uplifts everyone. I mean, we know that when a few people meditate together, it affects a large environment. So imagine people no longer afraid of bankruptcy, no longer afraid of dying in a welfare hospital like in the United States. I tell you, I'm an American, well, I'm Canadian American, I'm from New York City, and the level of fear down there is palpable. And the farther you go south, the less education, the more superstition, the greater the fear. And the horrible things that we are seeing, I believe, are people largely reacting from fear. And once you think of someone else as different, then in our terrible way of thinking, you're allowed to dehumanize them. So here's the old Anunnaki thinking is still with us. But what you and your partners in this are developing is a way not only to relieve people of fear and insecurity and probably all the health problems that come with that, but also it is uplifting the resonance, just as the stone circles do in a finite way.
You're absolutely right. I agree with everything you said there. The other, we're growing exponentially now. One of our biggest challenges right now is just to fix up and make sure that our blockchain IT platform can handle all of this, because this is huge. Once we let it go, it's going to grow exponentially, literally exponentially. We could find ourselves 2 years from now having 100,000 towns around the world operating on the one town principle, and it becomes a new way of existence. And I foresee it. I've manifested. I believe it's going to happen. So we're doing everything we can.
I believe it too. And I believe it's also going to be the beginning of 0-point energy and a lot of other things that already exist that can be done within a community.
Yes. Everything you're mentioning is already happening, and we're working with it. And that's all I'm going to say right now. But what I tell you is that the way that this is going to expand is going to be unstoppable. So we're making very sure right now that we get this IT platform blockchain thing as solid and strong as we can. So it's easy to use, easy to navigate, and because once we open it up, we won't have time to help people one-on-one, and if something doesn't work. So we're going through a few growing pains right now, but we're fixing those and making sure that everything works and ready for the stampede.
All right.
What I love about this, Michael, is that you've eliminated greed. So this is not at the expense of anyone else. You can be successful and it benefits everyone. It's not just I am successful and nobody else is. I love it.
Yeah. And it's also a very exciting investment opportunity for conscious investors. I'm about to video probably tomorrow that we shot yesterday. Why is this such an exciting investment opportunity? Well, it's exciting because it is so counterintuitive to mainstream capitalist thinking that it takes a while for the capitalist investors to realize how powerful and how safe this investment is. Imagine, a conscious millionaire or billionaire. And by the way, there are more millionaires in the world than there are small towns. Okay, good problem to have. So I believe there's going to come a time very soon when the first conscious millionaire says, "Wow, I've got $50 million. I don't know what to do with it, and I really don't want to put it in the stock markets and the normal traditional investment thing, because I'm really nervous what's going to happen there. What else is available?" And they suddenly discover one small town, and they read up and they go, "Oh my goodness, I can find a small town I can become the principal funder of all the key cornerstones businesses in that town, from the dairy, the bakery, the mill, all the big agriculture, food growing thing, food processing, packaging, the engineering. I can fund all those industries and be a 30% shareholder in all of those. The community is my 60% majority partner. This is a match made in heaven, which means can ever come and undermine my business because the community is my partner. So once we have the bakery, no other bakery can ever come and undermine our bakery. Once we grow the food and provide the food for our community and have a Walmart-like store where everything that we grow and manufacture and create is sold through our one small town superstore, no Walmart can ever undermine you or infiltrate you. So this is a no-brainer for any smart and wise conscious investor. And I think it's going to just take one guy or one girl with a lot of money that's going to say, let's go. We're going to find a small town. We're going to set this all up, and it's going to create an absolute domino effect and a stampede of rich people that want to invest their money into a safe, secure environment where they know they've created food security and security for themselves, physical security as well, where everyone in the community takes care of all the businesses because they own all the businesses. They're not going to let anyone destroy their businesses. They're not going to go looting and break things down because they're their businesses, right? So, and we're not going to allow anyone in to infiltrate and destroy what we've created. Now as an investor, I've created myself a little paradise where I can go and live with my family, have the best security imaginable. Everyone looks after everyone else. We have the best healthcare, the best housing, the best everything. I can live with my family and my children and my future generations and have that kind of utopian life that all of us dream of. That's what I will create for myself as a conscious investor by investing into one small town. And when that penny drops and the first person does that, it's going to be chaotic out there.
Oh my goodness. And think of the ills, the dietary ills that you're going to eliminate. There will be no more corporate farming. Well, Wes is a vegetarian. I am primarily a vegetarian. So, but I think people should be allowed to eat meat. But the way it's done, corporate farming is an abomination, and we pretty much got it as under control as it can be in Canada. But this whole perspective that you're talking about seems to me to be reminiscent of how many Native American tribes are already doing things and have
all ancient cultures lived like this. They survived like it's the fundamental principle of survival. If you do anything else, you're all going to die. It's really that simple. So this whole dog eat dog, strive to be the best, fight to be on top of the pile, that's a capitalist infiltration. Actually, capitalism and communism are the same thing. They just approach control and totalitarianism from two opposite sides. And people haven't figured this out yet. Because in capitalism, you got a bunch of exclusive and elite corporations that run the governments and control everything. And in communism, it's a dictator that runs everything and controls everything. So it's the same thing. It's just the one group of people feel they've got more freedom than the others. Anyway, what we're doing is we're eliminating all that, and we're actually creating something that's that existed in ancient times, and then when capitalism and industrialization came, it was destroyed. All that community spirit, caring for each other in united communities, making sure that we have food for winter and for the next few generations, that's been beaten out of us through the capitalist industrialization expansion the last 250 years, the new banking system that was brought in by the Rothschilds. And the last 250 years has been a devastation on and an attack on all our freedoms and liberties in ways that nobody could have imagined. Reduced to virtually no freedoms and liberties, especially what's going on in the world right now. And One Small Town is at this stage, in my opinion, the only antidote for this insanity that we face every day.
Indeed. And when you see the poverty in some places in the world, I mean, the townships in South Africa some of the Native American and Native Canadian reserves, the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, who have been living Ubuntu since the dawn of time, practically. Australia was part of Africa. And, but these people have been marginalized by greed, marginalized and stepped on, and enough is what I say. I can't bear it. I did my student teaching on an Indian reservation 1,000 years ago, and aside from some tribes owning casinos, not a lot has changed.
Look, what's happened to the indigenous people of the world on every continent is absolutely shocking and despicable, and we need to. Well, One Small Town will correct all of that. Say if there are any, Native American tribal chiefs or people that have influence with the tribal chiefs, One Small Town is a perfect model to help the tribal chiefs in Canada and the First Nations chiefs and whatever. The traditional leaders across all countries. The One Small Town is the perfect model to give them, to help them get back their control, to give prosperity and abundance on every level in all sectors, from agriculture to technology to healthcare. We have models and plans for every possible scenario you can imagine, because we've been doing this for nearly 2 decades, developing this plan, developing this model through, as I said earlier, through the hard knocks and through our own experiences of what not to do. So we can help and advise and guide any tribal chief to join the One Small Town initiative and really turn it for the benefit of their whole community instantly, because the tribal chiefs in the North America especially have pretty much carte blanche. They can do anything on their land, much more so than the chiefs in Southern Africa.
So true.
They've already been their wings have already been trimmed by the governments. So they don't have as much power as the traditional chiefs in Canada and the USA. And this is really important. So we can help them join the One Small Town initiative and get stuff off the ground so quickly, it will make your head spin because of the freedom that they have on their land, especially with healthcare and hospitals and institutions like that make billions of dollars that they could be making, that belongs to them, not casinos and all that kind of crap that's been put on the reservations. It's despicable what's happening.
It is. With the casinos came increased drug addiction and process addiction, which is the addiction to gambling as well as other things, which is as unbelievably toxic as anything else. So we will be, for the first time, free to better ourselves, free to evolve. And maybe this is what is supposed to happen as we globally move into perhaps a higher dimension. I mean, I could see that happening, but a lot has to be done. And we have to throw off the yoke. Although, Michael, I have a lot of sympathy for Enki, I must say. I think you're a descendant of Enki myself. Enki had, he had the best of intentions, and everything just slipped through his fingers. And
he was certainly a very interesting character and an individual, and I do feel a very close connection to the entity of Enki. Not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I've been told many things by psychics and seers and visionaries and so forth as to what my connection is, but I'll leave that for others to determine. All I can tell you is I'm here right now. I'm doing this because I know without any question this is my calling. This is what I came here to do. And this is why, in hindsight now, I've done many things in my life. I've been a musician. I worked in pharmaceutics. I worked in advertising. I was a very successful musician. We could have had a global deal and become the next Simon and Garfunkel in the 80s when I lived in LA. They just loved us. So I've done so many different things and very successfully, but all of them ended up failing. And for many years, I was wondering, I wonder why that didn't happen. I wonder why this didn't happen. I wonder why that didn't happen. Wow, everything worked. It was working. And then something happened and it all collapsed. I now understand in hindsight why it collapsed, because I was supposed to be doing this, not be a big, pop star on a stage somewhere. And here's my latest song. So I'd go nuts if that's what I was doing today. I'd be so bored out of my I'd be jumping out of my skin,
Michael, I wonder if we have time to cover a couple of things. One is, I noticed you're bringing in new, I don't know if you call them ambassadors worldwide. How does that process happen? And then I know that you've got to go at a certain point. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so our ambassadors are signing up on our website and on our platform. So we're still busy making that, streamlining that as smoothly as we possibly can. That's improving on a daily basis, because every day we work on that IT platform interface to make it as easy for our members and our ambassadors. So the role of an ambassador is either a country ambassador that oversees the One Small Town initiative and promotes the initiative. So they need to be really well informed and up to speed with what we're doing and how the implementation takes place. And then we have a town or a local ambassador, the person that's hands on the ground in a town, setting it up, making it happen, like our incredible ambassador in Lebanon, Fayez Mukarim, in first One Small Town in Ras El Matan. I mean, this guy is he's like on fire. Things are just happening. They've got their One Small Town shop and canteen. They've set up the art gallery. We're about to launch the first One Small Town art gallery in Lebanon with online auctions. They've started to grow food in their food tunnels, food gardens. They've dug a well to get primary water, sacred water, that they're going to start bottling for export worldwide. They're planting oregano to make oregano oil, which is very, very, very good profits from that. So very smart thinking. So the One Small Town Lebanon is they're flying, and they're a great example for all of us and all the other small towns. This week, we've signed up Sweden, and we're about to sign up another country in Scandinavia. So it's just, things are just going crazy. But one of the most exciting things that's happened, and maybe this is a good positive note to leave on, is that just yesterday, I had a conversation with a lady in the USA that is in one of the cities that's got a huge homeless population problem and living on the streets and so forth. And she's been doing this for several years now and become quite the leading figure in organizing and bringing hope to the homeless communities there and the people. And she is totally on board. It looks like we're going to be launching our first One Small Town urban initiative.
Oh,
Particular city in the USA. She got very excited because for the first time she could see a way forward and how that there is actually a solution for the homeless problem, not just another handout, not just more charity or trying to shift them from here to there. The governments and the municipalities and the city councils have no solutions. One Small Town is a solution for that problem. It's an obvious solution for that problem. It's actually the perfect match. And for many years, I've been anticipating and thinking how we can use the One Small Town model to deal with the homeless population all across the world. So I'm very excited that in the next few weeks, we'll be launching our first USA or first One Small Town urban initiative. And it's gonna be unbelievable. So we're just putting the pieces together, identifying the businesses that they can start and how those can be funded and the food that they can grow. And already just by talking like that, she started realizing, oh my God, if we do this, I'll have some funders that'll be able to fund this. If we do that, we have other interested people that'll fund that. Oh my, and if we want to develop housing for the people, I've got people that'll fund that. And there's land that's been offered to us, but the land is dead. We need to rehabilitate it. Well, we have the technology and the nutrients to rehabilitate that land. So it's almost like a match made in heaven. And I'm very excited about this because if we make this a success in this city, you can imagine what's going to happen in all the cities and to all of the homeless people around the world. This is a match made in heaven.
Oh, bless you, Michael. This is the most positive, heartwarming, positive message. I grew up in New York seeing homeless people. I mean, it's all over the world, but this is a way. And people, what they need is to be heard. What they need is to get their self-respect back. They don't, we know that welfare doesn't work. Just that. It does
Right.
not work. It only perpetuates a terrible situation. So bless you for everything that you were doing. Wes, I guess we're probably about out of time, huh? And we need to know, Michael,
Yeah.
how do people get to you?
Yes.
So very simple. Our website is onesmalltown.org. Go to our website, read through it, inform yourself, watch the videos. If you want to join us, follow the instructions. There's a button. It's probably going to change over the next few days because we're upgrading and making it easier, more user-friendly. From our website, it'll take you to the One Small Town platform. If you click on the right button to join the OST platform, or it'll say become a member, it'll take you to the OST platform where you click to become a member. You fill in the form, and it's really that simple. Once you are a member on our platform, you're a member. You have your digital wallet, and you can buy tokens, and you can share your tokens, and then you can decide if you want to join one of the One Small Town initiatives by going to live there, or possibly contributing from a distance. We're still putting that potential mechanism in place. So just go on our website, inform yourself, join us. If you are so inspired, and if you live in a small town, and you love what we're doing, and you believe that you have the right character and mentality to be an ambassador to launch One Small Town in your community, in your town, then just email me and we'll take it from there, or fill in the form to become an ambassador, and that automatically obviously flags us, and we contact you, and we start the process of taking you through it, making sure that you're the right personality, that you tick all the boxes and have all the right requirements to be an ambassador, because it's a very serious role to be
Yeah.
an ambassador for One Small Town, and
Very
we can't.
serious.
It has to work. We have to make it. So very simple. And all the emails are on the website, and how to contact me is on the website, and how to contact your local ambassadors in the different countries. All of it is on the website.
Well, let's
Perfect.
save the earth. Let's save the earth, and let's save civilization for our children, because if we don't do something now, I hesitate, what kind of future our children might be looking at. And by the way, the people of Lebanon are very special. It's just been discovered that they were the ancient Phoenicians.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so these were the people who traveled great distances and explored the so-called New World before anybody else did. So anyway, I
Yeah,
just
and
thought I'd throw that factoid in.
yeah, and that's why our One Small Town, Lebanon, in Ras El Mountain, it's a spectacular town. It's beautiful with all these ancient buildings everywhere. And so they've started the art gallery already, and the other the other thing is that we're putting up our first One Small Town Health and Wellness Center there. I think they've got 18 doctors, which are Lebanese doctors. Some are foreign doctors working in Lebanon that are
Wow.
masters and experts in their specific fields. They've all joined and contributed their time to the One Small Town Health and Wellness Center. So that's going to become a huge tourist health and wellness tourism attraction in our One Small Town in Lebanon. This is coming up very soon. And that model, with its business plan for that model, we can then set up in every country around the world, and every town that we set up. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. And they got treatments for all kinds of things that we can't even mention, because we don't want to rattle the cage too much.
Yeah, I get it. Well, Michael, once again, Wes Roberts and I are so thrilled that you were able to join us. It's been a long time since we had a chance to talk to you, and what a blessing it is. I feel already empowered just from hearing this positivity, and I just wish you the swiftest, most wonderful success on Angel's Wings in all this work that you are doing, and it is your journey. I'm sure of that. So thank you, Michael Tellinger. Everybody get out there and look at this website and join. Okay, you must.
Yeah.
And Wes, do you have any parting words there for Michael?
Just totally inspirational, and I love the sense of community that's being conveyed. Be a part of the community, support the community, and understand that there's more to the world that meets the eye.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. What I'd like to just add in my final is, please go on our website and buy some Infinity tokens, so that you have those, and maybe take out a monthly subscription. That's one of the options. You can take up, buy $100 a month if you can, then buy a bunch of tokens. So every month you get some tokens in your digital wallet. because we don't know what's going to happen. First of all, that helps us. We need funding, obviously. We're running this thing as a non-profit organization. We need funding. As it's growing right now, we're in some very needy, growing, expanding times. We need funding. So the sale of the tokens outside of our One Small Towns is the funding mechanism for the office. So it helps us to survive and keep making this grow, while at the same time you have a token that's going to just grow and grow in value, and it could be worth a few $1,000s a few years from now. So and it helps to establish the One Small Town. So go on our website and buy some tokens. That's definitely something that'll help us a great deal in the short term.
Excellent. That'll get your foot in the door there. So do it. I'm going to do it myself. onesmalltown.org. Thank you, Michael Tellinger. It's a blessing to have been able to chat with you. And it's winter time for you now, and it's getting dark over there. So have a wonderful, cozy evening with your family. And thank you for doing the good work. And I hope to talk to you again soon. When you have something else that you want to announce, you just give us a shout, and we'll be thrilled to welcome you back.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Wes. Great talking to you.
Good night, Michael. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching Contact TV.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors: Lightwork Hypnosis, UFOria and the UFOria Chronicles, Earth Mystery News, Conspiracy Culture Books, MUFON Canada, Free Experiencers, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, and Variety Store Productions.
For guest booking information, please email Wes Roberts at producer@contacttv.ca. And don't forget to join us on Facebook and Twitter.